Hi, it's Nikki here from Happy Hormones for Life. And today on the podcast and the videos, I've got the lovely Kim Rahir. Kim, please explain to us who you are. And I want you to relay your story because it is an incredible story and it deserves to be told. So please, who are you and how did you get to here?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nikki. So I'm a 60-year-old mother of three who are adults now, but they still need a bit of care. I'm a German. I live in Spain, and I now work as a health coach for women and try to convince them that they need muscle to be healthy and happy. I used to be a journalist, traveling the world with my husband, and then I got really struck down from one day to the next by an illness. That changed my life forever, and that also made me change my profession because I thought I had a calling. So it's a long story. I was 45, three kids. My oldest was 10. We had just moved to Berlin. I had a great job, working shift work, but I had a full-time job as a journalist, and I felt that I had like made it because I'd always wanted to prove that you could have a career and a family. I had been brought up in a very conservative way, sort of, you had to choose, you as a woman. And the word career woman, when I was a teenager, was an insult. So I was a bit of a rebel in that way. And I thought I had it all now. I had proven that you could do it. And then one day I was picking my kids up from school and I was seeing double. Uh, that was so scary. I knew that I couldn't ignore my way out of this one. When you have like a knee ache or something, sort of your back is sort of a little bit creaky, you kids are, ignore it and say, that's going to go away. But when you see double, there's something wrong in your brain. And I went to the doctor, sent me to the hospital, tons of tests. They guessed that it was autoimmune, but they couldn't really put their finger on it because I had symptoms from various syndromes. So the cross eye thing was one. And then while I was in hospital, I spent 6 weeks there. First 3 weeks, my legs were progressively paralyzed. After 3 weeks, I couldn't wiggle a toe. I couldn't move at all, nothing at all. So they weren't sure how they were going to call this. They weren't sure if I was going to walk again. They thought that it was probably a one-off, but it was absolutely terrifying. It was really dark times. I was lucky because people looked after my kids, and the world didn't end turning. That was a very, very important lesson for me that I sort of benefited from later. Got home for Christmas in a wheelchair, had to learn how to walk again. Took me about 6 months, but it was a one-off, and they call it a syndrome Guillain-Barré, which is quite common. I think it happens quite often to soldiers. And thinking back, maybe my life was a bit soldier-like because I had so many things to do and so much stress, so many stressors. But they told me it was autoimmune, but it was a one-off, and got a bit of treatment for a year, and then I was told I was fine, and I was so happy and thought, yeah, got a second shot at life. I'm not gonna waste that one. And because of the this insight that the world doesn't stop turning when you're not there anymore, it's something that so many women feel like if they're not doing their stuff, they're not doing their thing, looking after everyone, the family, the job, the house, the friend, then everything's just going to collapse. And nothing collapsed. I was just gone from one day to the next, and nothing collapsed. So that took a lot of pressure actually off. And I thought, well, okay, if I can't do anything, I'm just not going to do everything. And that's it. And I felt pretty good about that. And then after a year, we had just moved to France because we were moving all the time. I felt my left hand going numb, and I knew something was wrong. And I knew something had come back. That was like a really low blow. Tests and stuff. And this time they told me it's different. This is your immune system again, but it's attacking the white matter in your nerve cells. And if it happens again, you're going to be declared an MS, multiple sclerosis patient. So I was hoping that it was not going to come back and that I was not going to have a relapse. And it took about a year, and then it came back. It was super mild. It was not the same like the first one where my hand is numb to this day, by the way. Um, it was just a little tingling in my spine. I think I caught it early because I was attentive, and they give you treatment and they stop the inflammation, and it didn't leave any damage. But I was diagnosed with MS and was told I had to have lifelong treatment. I had a long talk with the doctor. I fought with him about the lifelong treatment. Yes.
What is the standard treatment for an MS, in case anyone doesn't know?
Yeah, I don't know what it is now, actually. At the time, it was injecting yourself with interferon beta 3 times a week. It gave me flu-like symptoms, and I think it does for many patients. So 3 times a week, I felt like shit. Sorry about this word, but that's how I felt. I just took over-the-counter painkillers or anti-inflammatories to just get over this because I wanted my life to be normal. I didn't want to take on this identity of a sick person. And it also, the injection sites, the skin doesn't like that. You do this, over years, and you're supposed to circulate, but I didn't want to inject visible places, parts of my body, because I had a huge skin reaction to that, like big red stains on my skin. It's no fun. I'm not sure if it's still in use these days, because at the time I started the treatment, but I also started to train for strength. I'd asked the doctor if I could exercise. He was very non-committal, said something, yeah, okay, but be careful, which I thought at the time, this doesn't mean anything. He didn't want to say, yes, go ahead. He was afraid of that, but he didn't want to say no, because he probably knows that exercise is supposedly good. I was lucky because I talked to a nurse later who showed me how to inject myself, and she said, by all means, exercise, because it makes your body fatigue resistant, and fatigue is a big thing for MS patients. So I took the treatment and I started training for strength. I had a great book, one of the first, that said women should lift heavy. And I started lifting heavier and heavier, and I felt so good in such a short time. And it was a reaction, I think, also to my stay that had been before in the hospital, when I felt so powerless. I actually didn't feel like a proper human. You don't even decide when, to turn on the light in your room, when you go to sleep, when you wake up, when there's someone in your room. And I was paralyzed. I couldn't even decide when I wanted to go to the shower or to the toilet. So I think that's what created this desire of being physically strong. And in a very short time, not only did I feel much better, my body was also kind of healing, getting stronger. They had told me that certain reflexes would never come back, and they all came back. And I felt really, really so much better. I was still injecting myself, but in my, my checkup visits, I was just, they say, oh yeah, you're fine, be on your way.
And then, so what happened, and how long ago was this now? So how long are we talking?
My diagnosis was 10 years ago, 10 and something. And then I used the treatment for about 4 years. We moved to Spain. I found myself a great neurologist just by Googling. I mean, it's crazy, but I'm very appreciative of situations where you're just lucky, and I think you have to be grateful for luck when it touches you, because when you have had these two sort of really low blows, you could feel that you're not lucky. In this case, I was lucky, because when I asked him if I could suspend my treatment for 3 weeks to go on a camping trip, I didn't want to inject myself on a camping trip. I thought it was horrible, and then we'd have to take a plane, and you have to ask on the plane if they could put the medication in the fridge, and then they never would do. And I said, can I just stop it for 3 weeks, please, so I can go on that camping trip, and then I'll come back? And he said, if you want to stop for good, I'm going to support you. I said, hell yes, I want to stop for good. Yes, let's give this a shot. And this was totally out of the box, because
not the advice you had been given. Yeah.
No, and I understand also, because so many doctors and patients are afraid if they get another relapse, and then maybe they're going to get, suffer serious damage. And when I told a nurse that my doctor had said I could stop, she said, oh, I wouldn't do this, and it's dangerous, and you could go blind. I mean, she was not very supportive. But he was very up to date. He goes to all the conventions and stuff, and he's very into this. And he told me, we're not even sure if this treatment is really effective anymore.
Wow.
Which gave me a lot of courage, because I thought, that's great. If I haven't had a relapse for 4 years, maybe it wasn't because of the injections. Maybe it was because I was actually getting better. And I really appreciate him for saying that because, not every doctor would be sort of strong enough to say this.
Honest. Yeah,
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
Because it could sound like, I gave you something useless, which I don't see it that way. I always say just because
Best they had, isn't it? I mean, they don't have
yeah, absolutely.
the best treatment they had, so
And just because we changed our mind doesn't mean that we were wrong before,
yes, exactly.
That's,
So what happened when you stopped it?
well, nothing. It's been like 6.5 years. I have had no relapse. I'm going to touch wood and no treatment.
And what is
So
the status of your MS now?
I don't know. It's not there. It's not active. I mean, I get brain scans. I get brain scans every year.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
So it's not actually active or just
No,
completely gone?
no.
Wow. And do you put that down to just your training or did you change anything else?
I don't want to claim that you can cure MS with
We've got to be
training.
careful here, haven't we?
Yes. Um, first of all, I'm convinced that I'm lucky because of some sort of combination, maybe of what I did and maybe of what happened in my body. It apparently has stopped. What I do think is that the training made me physically much better, and I think that plays a huge role. Um, and an even bigger role is the mental health aspect of strength training because it makes you so confident and it gives you such a positive outlook. And I think in getting better from, coming back from anything, I think that is so powerful. And we're learning more and more every day about how body and mind are connected and how really how much of an influence that has. And I think this this confidence, this knowledge, and you have this knowledge in your bones and in your fibers, literally, that you can overcome resistance
Mhm.
when you train, and it carries over to other parts of your life. When you encounter resistance, you know that you can overcome it. You know that it's not going to stop you, it's not going to kill you. And sometimes, I also fail lifts, but sometimes you can't. But then you also know in your bones that this doesn't kill you, and this is just a step of learning and moving forward. So I think this is really a big part of this, and that's also why I want to share this, because I think it's such a simple way um, of looking after yourself and improving your quality of life. It's really super simple. I'm not saying it's super easy, but it's simple. It's just this one activity that will have so much carryover into so many things in your life.
And tell me what happened because you went on to lift heavier and heavier weights and then you entered competitions, didn't you?
Yes, I just love this part. I was we were in Spain. I joined a gym because I wanted to continue training, and then I worked with a PT for a while. And at some point, he said, "Would you like to try Olympic weightlifting?" And the only memory I had of that was watching the Olympic Games with my dad when I was a kid. And you remember the guys when they were who lifted at the time, they were wearing these weird outfits, like these weird leotards with a huge hairy belly hanging out, and they looked basically not very attractive, but they were very strong. And I remember we watched this, and I think there were some strong German athletes, or I don't know what otherwise would have been the reason why we watched this. But I had this memory, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to try this. And I tried it, and it's incredibly hard. It's so because you don't need strength only, you need technique too, and that's lifelong learning. It's not something that you sort of figure it out and then say, oh, I nailed it. And especially, I mean, when you start as a kid, you can sort of mechanize the movement that you have to do. When I was like 55 when I started this, so it takes a while for your brain to understand what it has to do, but I was hooked right away because this mix of technique and strength is just great. It's so challenging, but it's also exhilarating, and it really requires total focus for every single lift that you do.
Yeah.
I liked it so much that I left the commercial gym and joined a club, a weightlifting club, where it's like the real deal. They only no mirrors, no music, just a lot of iron and a trainer who, writes a program for you. And I'd been there for 2 weeks when someone came and said, "Hey, Kim, do you want to compete?" And I said, "Do you know how old I am?" And then they said, "We don't care. We don't care. Everybody here competes." And I said, "Okay, I'm going to give that a shot." And I'm sure today that in my 30s, I wouldn't have said yes. I would probably have said, "Oh my God, this is just another stressor. I don't need this in my life." And because I think in your 50s, you're freer. And when you're also done with a disease that's really sort of struck you down, and you've come back, and I really have different priorities in life, since that happened, because
Yeah.
I don't sweat the tiny stuff anymore. And I thought, let's give that a shot. And I did. And then the next year I went to a European competition already, and I won a bronze medal. And it's just it makes you feel so alive competing. It's scary because you have to step out on that platform. All eyes are on you, and you have 60 seconds to make the lift. So it's not like, yesterday I lifted that, or, oh, on a good day I can lift this, or, maybe in 2 weeks I could manage. No, it's now.
You got to
It's
perform
this.
right now. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. However you feel.
And it makes you feel so alive.
I can only imagine how amazing that must feel. But are you still doing it and entering competitions, or are you just training?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely. Um, uh, we're preparing the European Championship in June this year, and it's also great because it's in Norway. I've never been to Norway, so you get to travel. And the World Championship is in Finland in September, and it's like a movement that I find so empowering. It's like, masters sports, so older people, but I mean it's called older people. You're a master in sports from 35 years onwards, so it's not like they're not really old. I'm 60, so I'm really a master. But it's like older people that don't say, "I'm going to sit next to the fire at home and knit sweaters," or they want to have fun. They want to go out there and compete, and get this thrill of and adrenaline of competing. And there's some guys in their late 80s who show up. They
really?
still travel, they still go to the weigh-in, and then on competition day, you see them after the weigh-in eating their food from there, because you eat nothing before you weigh in because you want to weigh as little as possible, and then afterwards you eat before you compete. And you see they're like 89 or something. Uh, they have sometimes even trouble walking onto the platform, but then they lift and they still do this. And I love it. I think it's great.
Incredible. And it just shows you that we're never too old to start anything new. And there's always a community, there's always a way to do things that make you feel good. And that's literally essentially what it is, isn't it? It makes you
Absolutely.
feel amazing and powerful. And like you said, in control, which got taken away from you with your illness.
Absolutely. And I think the community plays a big part. And this club where I'm lifting, it's like a second family, actually. In a commercial gym, everybody comes and goes, and you can make friends and stuff, and you say hi, and you maybe go to the same classes. But this club, it's where everybody competes. It's like a second family, and you feel part of something. And I
Yeah.
lived with people who are 15, and I lived with people who are 50. And when I'm out in a competition, uh, say in Ireland, and I'm lifting and there's a YouTube feed, I know that back here in Madrid, there's going to be a handful of people watching this
Yeah.
actually, and rooting for me. And I think this is just so heartwarming. So many women, like, they tell me, when you turn 50, you become invisible. And
Mm.
I don't think we have to accept that.
No.
Yes, we have to put ourselves out there if we don't want to be invisible. So you have to, accept being visible. That can be scary and challenging sometimes, but you don't have to be invisible, and you can really, just take in all the emotions that come with that, like all the excitement and the challenge and the joy and the fulfillment. And don't ever think that you are invisible. Go out there and show yourself.
Absolutely. We're only invisible when we don't show ourselves, isn't it? So So getting back to the benefits, you mentioned the whole mental health aspect of how training helped your mood and it helped you have a more positive outlook. And I think that has a massive impact on your body. The brain, if your brain is producing more endorphins and positive emotions and hormones, that message goes straight to your body and tells the body that you're being positive and everything's to live for and all of that. So that's huge, huge, huge. But also putting on muscle. Tell me about muscle, because I know you've researched this a lot and you know a lot about the muscle and what it does for us. How does it improve our overall health, aside from mental health? And yeah, let's get on to that in a minute. But let's look at the science and what muscle does for us, and
Yeah.
particularly for women.
Yes. For women, it's crucial for something that's pretty well known by now. Bone health is a big one. We start losing bone mass when we're like 35. It goes downhill from there, and the only way to compensate or to stop that, to stop the loss, is really to strength train, to load the bone, to load the muscles. So that one's been known for a while, and it's really crucial. Falls are a big health risk for women when they get older, and can be deadly, actually. Not because you die in the fall, but because you lose your independence when you break something, and it goes downhill from there. So that's in that situation, muscle is like a life insurance, because your bones will be stronger, and also your balance, everything will be just better, because your risk of falls will be much less. But we know more stuff now. We know that muscle health is actually something that's crucial for cardiovascular health too. It's amazing. The contractions of the muscles actually help pump the blood through the body, and then there's the other chemical stuff that's really it's really important for cardiovascular health to work on your muscle mass too. And another one is metabolic health. And I found out about this recently, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, is blood sugar management is so much easier for your body when you have muscle mass, because that's the number one storage site for sugar
Yeah,
in your bloodstream.
sugar sponge. Muscle is a bit like a sponge for sugar.
Absolutely. And I think that's great. And like, so many women are told they're pre-diabetic or insulin resistant. And that's a very, as I can only say it again, simple way of dealing with that and becoming healthier. And then there's the part of the aspect of functional independence.
Mm.
And that it's just like being able to get, out of a chair easily, to maybe get down on the floor, roll around with your grandkids, or open a pickle jar. And I think that this aspect is really crucial, because that's what you need to keep participating in activities, to stay connected with other people, which is a big factor in longevity, to feel that, you're part of a group, that people care for you, and to be functionally independent is really crucial for that. So you can, move around, get out of the house, do things, and are not too scared of falling, or running out of breath, or feeling weak. So overall, it's like a really good complete package for health.
Yeah, it is. What, and now I know a lot of my listeners will be thinking, yes, but I haven't got time to go to the gym. I can't afford a personal trainer. I can't really envision myself lifting weights. What can women do to start training and building muscle that's not even, just a little bit at start? What would you suggest would be a good way to start?
I think that's actually the most difficult part about this, especially when you've never done anything like it, or you haven't done anything in a long time, and you feel you just don't know where to start. You don't need a gym, and you don't need to lift heavy. You can start working just with your body weight.
Mm.
Actually, being able to manage your body and move your body through various situations is the main goal of being strong. So you can start by just doing body weight exercises, and you want to find out what exactly is the level where you can start right now. I'm going to give you an example. Any exercise can be scaled to any sort of level of difficulty. And if you think of a push-up, if you think, oh my God, I'm never going to do push up in my life, because so many women hate that exercise because we do not have upper body strength naturally. We just carry so much less muscle in our upper body. You can start with the wall push ups, you
Yeah.
know, but you do the whole body push-ups, so no knee push-ups or anything, and then you just do push-ups against the wall, and you work your way up to 3 sets of 20. You prepare your joints, your ligaments, your muscles get a little bit stronger, and then you take it from there. And I think this is really super important to keep in mind, because I know that many women know by now that they should do strength training and try something, and then they go look at workouts on YouTube,
Yeah.
and there's great stuff on YouTube. It's just mostly not made for women in their 50s or 60s. It's made for young people. And then you could get hurt, you could get discouraged and think, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do this. So just understand, you don't need a gym. You can do it at home, and you want to do the basic human movements, actually, which is funny because we want to build muscle, but we want to train movements like pushing, pulling, carrying, picking stuff up from the floor, getting stuff down from above our head. And you have to find the level of the exercise that it challenges you enough, but that doesn't like overwhelm you or get you hurt. And you can really start that small. It's really important to know that you can start that small, and you will have great results. You'll have a big difference in your strength and in your quality of life. So don't think that you have to go to a gym and toil away for hours. No, it's not necessary.
I love the fact that you don't have to go out and buy heavy dumbbells or anything. You can just use your body as resistance, and you're still going to work your muscles really, really well. And I love the fact as well that you're saying that we can start at the level we're at, and then with that same exercise and that same muscle group, you can just move it up and up as you get stronger. Love that.
Absolutely.
You have a program, don't you, Kim, that people can follow online, is that right?
Yes, I work online, and my big promise is that you can be fabulous in 15 minutes a day. And it really does work. And it's not just about those 15 minutes. It's the carryover effect that I've mentioned various times. If you start training 15 minutes a day, many other aspects of your life are going to change. And that's actually what you want to do, because you want to make the change very small. If
Mm.
like, you just remember January 1st and the big overhaul that you're going to say, yes, you're going to revolutionize your life, and you're going to go to the gym 3 times a week and only eat broccoli and chicken. That's just not realistic. We have so much going on in our lives. So I think it's not only the fact that you need to train, but it's also how do you start, and how do you start in a way that makes it doable and repeatable, and that doesn't overwhelm you, and that doesn't have you giving up after 2 weeks because you just don't have the time or the energy to do it. So actually, it is my promise, in 15 minutes a day, you can change your life, and you can get like so much better.
The other thing women think is if they start strength training, they're going to turn into Arnie and get really bulky, especially if you're on the kind of bigger side, and you don't want to be, women don't want to be big, they just want to be toned. So what would you say to those sorts of women who are scared of kind of putting on muscle like that?
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I thought you might say that.
It's not going to happen. Um, Definitely, there are a few, super few genetic outliers who might sort of put on muscle quickly, but most women, it's just not going to happen. If you see female bodybuilders who like very focused on building muscle,
Mm,
they work so hard.
yeah, I mean, you'd
They
have to be
work
in
for
the gym every day, wouldn't you?
hours and hours and hours, and they have to be extremely strict with what they eat, and they really have to toil away, and it takes years. I also want you to think about all the guys. Guys go to the gym, they want that bulky look. And so many of them, they keep working out, and they keep working out, and they keep working out. It's just not happening for them. It's not going to happen to a woman. What will make you look big is fat, excess body fat, um, which, that is maybe a bulky look, but it's not due to muscle. It's just because, we live in a time and age where there's always too much food around.
Actually, putting on muscle makes you look smaller, doesn't it? Because you're toning and you're getting rid of that fat through putting on more muscle. So
Absolutely, you can do what we call recomposition. So you don't even have to change your weight. Your weight might stay the same, but as you train, you get more muscle, and your fat melts and your look changes. And I'm sure you've seen these little plastic models of a pound of fat and a pound of muscle. A pound of muscle is much smaller, much denser than a pound of fat. So you could really stay the same weight, change your body composition, and look much smaller, actually, not bigger.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's the thing that we can't sort of envision when we start out. Oh, that's been so interesting, Kim. Is there anything else you want to add to kind of maybe just encourage women to really think about strength training as part of their fitness? Maybe they're running a lot and maybe they're doing a bit of yoga, and need to kind of just add this in. How would you encourage them to do that?
Well, I would definitely say you want to start small to make the change sort of as easy to digest as possible, not to overwhelm yourself. And you just need to know that in order to build muscle, yoga and running, they are great exercise. I used to love running. It makes you feel so good. And yoga is perfect also for de-stressing and for mobility. Um, I consider yoga to be more for recovery. For muscle building, you need something that's called progressive overload. So you can't do the same thing over and over again. You have to challenge your muscles just a little bit more, on a regular basis. Um, and that's something that you want to consider. If you feel that you're sort of stuck or you think you could never do this, just start very, very small. This is really my big credo. You just start small because it will give you small results, but it will give you results. That's positive reinforcement, and then it will encourage you to do more. And then you will realize how far you can go if you just keep doing small things.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm hoping some women will be starting to look to really look after their muscles after this. So
Yes.
appreciate you being here. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Nikki. It has been a pleasure.